Let me get started by saying I'm not really one to, get into superstition. I've always been the person to shoot down the stories and ideas about the supernatural. I'm still not sure whether or not I'm a believer, but what I do know is that something happened to my brother, and I can't exactly explain it. My brother Bill isn't exactly the most normal person. He's borderline schizophrenic, so he can get a bit odd at times. Like, well, like saying he sees weird stuff and randomly talking to himself. So my mother put him on some medication. Don't get me wrong, I love my brother to death. He's a great kid and everything. It's just, he gets a little annoying with certain things. He is obsessed with all this weird stuff like dreams and meditation, and for the last 11 years, he has been keeping journals religiously. What are you... Well, what you are about to read is his last journal entry that I've not edited, changed, or fixed anything about this entry, and for personal reasons, I'm gonna leave out the dates. For the last 5 years, I've been thoroughly practicing and have become actually really good at lucid dreaming. If you were unaware of what lucid dreaming is, it is the ability to understand when you are dreaming while you're asleep, making you become in control of your own dreaming experience. Cool, right? Now, that's not really important. But the point is that I'm trying to make is that I've become aware, very, very aware to when I am dreaming and when I'm not. The last year and a half, I've been practicing the art of chakra. Chakra is composed of about 7 centers of the psychiactive energy, which you are able to learn to calm your body in these areas to a state where you can cause this thing called astral projection. In other words, it's having an outer body experience on demand. The only problem is that it's completely different from lucid dreaming, and you can screw this up really bad. And when you do, you are in some serious trouble. Now, I'm pretty sure that some of you have seen the movie Insidious. While some found it pretty scary, like myself, other people found it stupid, like my brother. The movie offers one concept that is very scary. The little boy in the movie projects himself too far and can't get back to his own body, then goes into a coma. But the scary part is that can actually happen when you project too far from your boundaries. That part of the movie is very eerily true. When you project, all of your senses are heightened significantly. You can hear and smell things from miles away, and your emotions are much, much stronger. When I used to project, I would do it during the daytime while I was in a happy state of mind, usually in a well-lit room that I could focus and not feel too confined. The farthest I've made it was about 4 feet from my body. Well, that sounds pretty lame and all. It's actually very invigorating and exciting. It's almost as if you can feel your body being lifted out of itself, only to be in a better feeling version of yourself. I became obsessed and kept practicing. Then one night, I wandered a bit too far in my boundaries, and I witnessed something that I will never forget. I tried doing it at night for a change. Before I went to sleep, I was, incredibly depressed about an issue that I'm not gonna get into. But I decided to do it anyway. I started off in my computer chair in my room at around midnight. Sometimes it can take a very long time before you can project properly. I put myself into complete relaxation, I felt my numbing body just slowly and completely just numb. All the way from my forehead, all the way to my toes. After about 45 minutes, I started to feel myself begin to lift. I became lighter, my problems went away, I felt like I was completely high off of life. I was in a completely different state of mind than I was just a few moments before. I floated in front of my body where I could see myself sitting in my computer chair with all my school books scattered all over the desk after my pitiful attempt to complete my statistics homework. Then I started to move towards the back wall. Reaching at about roughly 4 feet from my body, I decided to go further. And on the outside of the wall of my room, it was pouring rain outside. I never traveled outside, but I know become the farther you move away from your body, the less control you feel you have. It's almost as if your power to move yourself becomes more depleted. Depending on the person who is projecting, the experience in the time that they experience can either move really, really much faster or much slower. In my case, I'm not exactly qualified as experienced, so time moves significantly faster for me. If you can picture a stopwatch at the speed of the seconds to move, that's how long it takes for minutes to change for me. I looked peaceful, sleeping, our Great Dane lying right next to my chair. By this point in the night, all my lights were out in the house, and everyone was asleep. Then something incredibly horrifying happened. I saw a tall man enter into the room very slowly. I did not recognize him at all. He was old and sickly looking man with white hair and dressed in a full black suit. He walked into my room and stopped right in front of my computer chair where I was sitting. My dog woke up immediately. My first thought was this guy must have broken into my home. My dog is going to go nuts. No. What happened was the exact opposite. That informed me that if there was something seriously wrong already, here it was. My dog immediately stood up, his tail sticking between his legs, and pissed all over my floor. It wasn't like he had an accident, as if we have a doggy door and he is more than trying to use it. His legs were shivering uncontrollably and he walked out of my room. He knew something was wrong with this man. I completely thought I was going to shut down. And as I started to stare at him while I hovered out my window, I thought to myself, can this guy see me? How did he get into my house? How did my mother and father not see him come in? He didn't look like he was in any shape to make a forcible entry, but he had a very creepy demeanor to him, which really just horrified me. I watched him, and as I watched him, he didn't move, not a single muscle. He stood in front of my chair, staring at me with his eyes locked on my body as if he was watching television. As I looked at my clock, I could see the time flying. He stood there. Hours went by. He still stood there, not moving. I couldn't move. I couldn't get back to my body. I felt immobilized, paralyzed, forced to watch this unknown being relentlessly just stare at my body as I watched. As the time hit 5 a.m., my brother walked into the room. The man didn't move a muscle. My brother walked right by the man to my dresser where I had my Playboys. He was no more than 1 foot away from my brother, still staring at me. My brother looked at me sleeping, walked over to my body, slapped my face to wake up. He probably thought I fell asleep in my computer chair. I couldn't feel anything while I was projecting. I felt nothing connected with my body. My brother slapped me again, this time even harder than before, and at this point, he was directly next to the tall man. Then my brother walked out of the room. He didn't see him. He didn't make any indication that something could possibly be wrong. Whoever or whatever this thing is, my brother can't see it, but my dog could? What the hell is going on? I'm absolutely petrified at this point. I'm on the verge of crying. I'm helpless. I want to scream, but I can't. I want to just get back to my body and snap out of this, but I can't. Then I noticed the minutes stopped moving fast. They stopped at 6:12 a.m. Then I could feel the rain stop. What's going on? I still can't make my way into my room, so I can't be snapping out of it. Then all sound stops. Just completely stops. I can't hear anything or sense anything, as if as if the television was on mute and I was the program. The man turned very slowly and looked directly at me through the window, as if he knew I was there the whole time. He's hideous now, that I can actually get a better look at him. His hair's all disheveled, his eyes look sunk into the back of his sockets, and his face is full of old wrinkles and scars. His eyes lock with mine. He smiles, not a happy smile, but the type of eerie smile that stretches ear from ear with some sort of determined meaning to it. Then he puts his finger up to his mouth and says, "Shh." Then he turns and walks out of my room slowly, with the door closing behind him. Without touching it, I blink, then the next blink I took, I was shoved back into my body and jolted up like I've been hit with a shot of adrenaline. I ran out of my room to try to catch the man. Nothing. I checked the whole house. Nothing. I immediately thought it was a dream, an incredibly vivid dream, until I walked back into my room and stepped in something wet, then smelled it. It was the dog's urine. I'm now frozen with shock. I didn't know what to think. When I went to see if my magazines were missing, from what I remembered, I checked the dresser, they were gone. That's when I noticed that next to my homework was a piece of paper I didn't recognize. I picked it up. The wording was a bit scratchy, but it read, "You'll be with me soon enough. The sights of hell bring its viewers back in." I can't tell anyone about this. I really do think I'm finally losing it. That's where the journal entry ends. It's the last one in his book, and I'm not sure what to make of this. I know nothing about lucid dreaming or astral projection. I'm writing this for help. My brother Bill passed away 4 days after this final journal entry. He died in his sleep. He was 18 years old and never had a cigarette or drank a beer in his life. He never had any health complications, but perhaps I'll see him again in my dreams.